to episode 24 of the Backstage Knits podcast. My name is Catherine, and you can find me on Ravelry as Backstage Cat Knits. There's also a Ravelry group for the podcast, which you can get to by searching Backstage Knits Podcast. I'm also on Instagram as Backstage Cath. Today is Saturday, January 14th, 2017, and I'm coming at you from my apartment in beautiful downtown Hartford, Connecticut, where it is kind of a gray and hopefully, I think, cold day. It was really oddly warm the end of this week, so I think it's cold. Yes, this is a knitting podcast. I don't have a ton to talk about today, actually, knitting-wise. I have a big project, which you'll see, so that's been taking up a lot of my knitting time and, have a good amount of progress, but not a lot of other things to talk about. And I've been really good in my yarn purchasing, although you will see some new yarn today, so I don't even have a huge acquisition section, which is good. I've got some big knitting-related things planned, so yeah, it's gonna be good. So let's dive in, I guess. Nothing else to say from a opening section standpoint. Neither of my works in progress you have seen before, so let's go with the slightly less exciting one first and build up to the exciting project. So this is in my Yarn Seller Studio bee bag. This is the small size, which is a huge small size. Definitely highly recommend these bags. You can find her on Etsy. So, one of my favorite podcasters, Grace of Babbles Traveling Yarns, there we go, is hosting month 1, of what will, I think, be a 6-month knit-along called The Wonders of the World Knit-Along. So the point is that you knit with each continent, I believe it is. It could be certain countries. I watched the trailer, but I'm not remembering at this point. So anyway, January, it's Australia and New Zealand. So the point is that you make something out of Australian yarn, or from an Australian designer, or a dyer, or use a project bag made by someone from Australia or New Zealand. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of both. So I've got a pattern by an Australian designer with Australian wool, also an Australian dyer, and I bought a project bag from Australia. It has not arrived yet, so currently it's not in the Australian project bag, but eventually I will have the knit-along trifecta, I guess. So anyway, let's get down to it. This is the Oyster Shell by Amba O'Brien. And I love Amba, I don't know how you say her name. I love her patterns. I knit the Lily Pilly shawl, and it's similar to this a little bit in that it's a really, really good blend of like totally mindless knitting and not some lace sections. So Lily Pilly was like stripes and lace sections in a big triangle. This is a crescent-shaped shawl where you do the an eyelet section and then a lace section with a little lace eyelet in there. So I've shown this pattern, I believe, on the podcast before. A year ago when there was a yarn crawl, I actually bought some yarn to make it out of, and never made it. And so I thought I would rehash that desire this year, but with new yarn. So, the yarn is from an Australian dyer I found on Etsy, and the name is Fiber Revolution. Here you see Fiber Revolution. This is the Australis 4-ply base, which is 100% superwash merino. It's 390 yards in 100 grams. So this one colorway, which I'll show you, is Dharamsala. So I have 2 colorways for this project. The top one here is Dharamsala. It's like pinks and peaches and coral and kind of like a dark fuchsia. And then the bottom is Bloody Mary, which just is kind of a lightly variegated, picking up those same tones of that dark fuchsia. So I'm going to make the big eyelet section out of the variegated yarn, the Dharamsala, and then do the lace in the Bloody Mary. So there are those yarns. They look really nice together. I was quite happy when I got them in the mail. Came all the way from Australia, but actually arrived here pretty quickly from what I was thinking, considering it traveled halfway around the world. It's actually really cool to think about that this yarn came to me from halfway around the world. It's pretty awesome. I love how the knitting community is such a worldwide community, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of this knit along. Hopefully I can participate in some more months and really, get yarn from all over the world for my collection, which would be really cool. So anyway, this is the beginning of the shawl. I think I'm just over 3 repeats in. You do 6 repeats of the pattern before moving on to just the eyelet row. So it's building really nicely. It's one of those shawls where you increase a lot, so suddenly it's gotten quite big. I actually think I need to move it to a different set of, a longer cable on my interchangeable needles here, but I really like how this colorway is knitting up. It's definitely variegated, and so there's some interesting spots of like very stark contrast between like the dark fuchsia and like a light purple even that's in there. And then some spots where it's very similar, but nothing major from a pooling standpoint, which I like. So it's coming out really pretty. I don't want to say I'm not sure why I picked these colors, because these colors look beautiful. I'm not sure I picked them to knit a shawl for me. They're not really my colors. I think I picked them because I really, really liked Fiber Revolution. She's one of the dyers I found on Etsy. I just did a search for Show Me Dyers in Australia, and I really liked a lot of her stuff. And I couldn't quite find, these were 2 that I found that seemed to go together really nicely. I figured just for convenience sake and making sure they got there at the same time, I should buy the yarns from the same dyer. But maybe this shawl will be for somebody else. We'll see. It will have a life of its own, I'm sure. So the pattern is so well written and so easy. Like I said, I love Amba O'Brien's patterns. I've heard though, and not heard, but I've seen on people's project pages that the lace is really intense, and it certainly looks it from this chart, but I'm sure that I will figure it out, and I'm actually looking forward to doing some hardcore lace. It does look like there's lace, well, maybe not. I was going to say there's lace on both sides, but maybe not really lace on both sides. So we'll see. Should be good. I think that is it. I'm knitting this on my Carbons US size 7, 4.5 millimeters, which is a size up from the pattern recommended, which I tend to do on shawls because I know myself and my gauge is tight. So, and even then, I usually don't use as much yarn as the person recommended. So, there's that. The knit along is a month long. It's halfway through the month. I think it's possible that I can finish this. I am having some travel time again next weekend, so we may get some done on that. Although, with my next project, which I'll show you, I go back and forth between which I want to work on more. It's actually good. I'm really, really enjoying both of my projects right now, and since this one has a deadline, might work on it more, but I really like working on the next one. So, I'm trying to remember if I talked about this. I think I mentioned that I got the pattern in 2 episodes ago, but I'm 95% certain I didn't talk about it last time, because I think on my last time I said, oh, I'm not going to do anything for New Year's Eve. I decided to go to Boston for New Year's Eve, and my friend and I decided we wanted to have a Star Wars marathon because Carrie Fisher had just died, and so I decided, well, let me go up to Boston and I'll hang out with my friend and we'll watch Star Wars and it'll be chill. And I'm like, well, that means I'll have like, I don't know, I wasn't really sure how much Star Wars Marathon meant. Like, I thought we were going to watch all of them. We ended up watching only the original 3, which was totally fine, because then we got to go outside and take walks and it was good. So I was like, well, I'll have 2 bus rides, it's 4 hours of bus sitting total, plus like at least 6 hours probably of movie watching. Maybe it's time to start a sweater. So I've started a sweater, and if you follow me on Instagram, like, this is not news because I posted about it now, but anywho, I got this pattern. This is Caspian by Jared Flood. I was gifted this pattern as part of Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted. Thank you, Tabitha. And it's really, really pretty. Let me see if I can zoom in here. So what I like about it is that it's got those cables at the top, but then the bottom is a little bit of an A-line, so I think it'll be pretty flattering once it's done, and it's so beautiful. The cables are really neat. So here's what I have done on it so far. Look at all that. The construction of this sweater is that you knit the back, the front. Ooh, that's the wrong way. Trying to look at the camera and not paying attention to my computer monitor, doing things the wrong way. So the construction of this is that you knit the back, then the front, then the sleeves, and then I think you do like the neckline. So this is the back. You start with a 1x1 rib in a smaller needle, and then go up to a stockinette section, and then you decrease slightly through here to kind of make that A-line. It's a little bit hard to see just because while there is a little bit of an edging, it's curling in because of the huge stockinette sections. But once it's blocked, there is a little bit of an A-line, and then you do the cable section. So I believe I'm knitting the second largest size, which is why my cables look just about how many cables the pattern has, and I still have like a long way to go. But it's really cool. The one modification I made was actually an inadvertent modification. The pattern for the stockinette section said repeat for 14 more rows. And I read that as repeat these 2 rows 14 more times. Right? Which was not right. So, yeah, work as established for 14 more rows, ending with a wrong side row. I read that repeat rows 1 and 2 14 times, so I have twice the bit of stockinette before starting the decreases, which actually I like. The one thing about this pattern is that it does look a little bit short on this model, and while I did look at the measurements for what my size would be and it felt like it was going to be long enough, I'll appreciate a little bit more length as well. So I was so far past it that I was like, I don't feel like ripping back the 14 rows that I did inadvertently. I'm just gonna do it. And so I did it. This cabling is amazing. It was a little bit mind-boggling at first because you basically have to like pay attention to like 4 different charts and like mark where you are in those charts. But really now that I'm into it, I've totally got the hang of it, and it's not that difficult. The only hard part is what you have to do right here to make this like chain, or I guess these are the links, maybe, and this is the chain. I forget which is which chart, but this right here requires you to use 2 cable needles, and it's a little bit tight, but other than that, not at all difficult. This is by no means perfect. I have some issues so then in between you kind of have this like texture pattern. Let me see if I can find, I see now, okay, this is good because I can't even find a spot where I made a mistake. So like here, you can kind of see how that that row doesn't really go all the way evenly. And then I have a mistake, where is it? It's like here, right? Yeah, where I didn't do the cable the other way. There you go. Right here. Can you see it now? Yeah. No. Yes? No. Right. I lost it again. Right there. So anyway, it's obvious, but I think it's the back of the sweater. I'm not stressing out about it unduly. So I think I have maybe like 18 more rows before I'm finished with you increase slightly here, and then I'll do the shoulder shaping or the back shaping or whatever it is, and I'll be done with the back. So I started this over New Year's weekend, so it is moving along pretty well. I guess this has now been about 2 weeks that I've been working on it, so I'm pretty impressed with my job. I'm through 1 whole skein, and then I had most of the skein. I had done a gauge swatch for another project. I did not do a gauge swatch for this project, and so probably should have done, but didn't once I get started. Laziness. Probably will come back to bite me, but if it's slightly too small for me, I'll give it to my sister. So there is that. I am super excited. Like, it is not as intimidating as I thought it would be. This is my first ever sweater. Did I say that? I'm not sure I did. This is my first ever sweater. So yeah, I'm knitting it on high sharps. This is a set I got for Christmas, so I forget exactly the needle sizes. I just did it as written in the pattern. You use a small one for your I think it's US 4 for your cast on, the tubular cast on, which is really neat. May start using that for top-down socks from now on. And then you go up a size to do the ribbing, and then I think you go up 2 sizes to do the stockinette section. So, high sharps. These are US 7s, 4.5 millimeter for the body. And so hopefully next time I podcast, maybe we'll be done with the back section and start on the front. We'll see. I would like to, I'm missing important things. I would like to get this done by February 28th so I can enter it in the Crew of Yarniest knit along, hosted by Mary and Robin of the Cherry Pearls podcast. So to celebrate the Mardi Gras season, the point is that you knit something with green, gold, or purple. And this yarn is green with a little bit of gold heather, actually. It doesn't really count, but the heathering here has definitely got a golden tint. The yarn, the important thing in the project, right? This is Valley Yarns, which is the yarn they sell at Webb's in Northampton. And this is the yarn Northampton, which is a worsted weight 100% wool. It doesn't say superwash, but I guess I'll just wash it by hand. It's 100 gram skein, 247 yards. I love this yarn so much. The heathering is like really, really beautiful, and it's super reasonably priced, which means I can knit a whole sweater out of it. So, yay, Valley Yarns! I think that's it. Important part on the project that I forgot to talk about. So yeah, there's that. Like I said, I don't have much from an acquisition section, actually. Dump that over there. This is January's Yarn Box Socks. This is Yarn Fairy and the Pixies, Imp Sock in the Viking colorway. It's 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and 433 yards to the skein. So it's this really kind of cool, like periwinkle and like bright blue with flecks of brown. So I'm actually not like super digging it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get someone in a swap, or I don't know. I'll find something to do with it, I'm sure. Yes, these 2 projects will take me through the little bit of a while, and then I need to still work on my Uncle Socks. I've actually gotten a little bit done, but it looks the same as it did last time, just with a little bit, maybe 1.5 inches more stockinette. The color hasn't even changed yet, so there's that. Life. Let's show off my tea, first of all. This is my new mug. I think I talked about it in a podcast that I didn't end up uploading. Like, I recorded episodes, I think both actually 22 and 23, and then didn't feel like editing them, and so then didn't upload them. But this is my Small State Big Heart mug, which I got from Hartford Prince, which is this cool little shop downtown. Today I am drinking cardamom French toast black tea from David's Tea. Really delicious. It actually has brown sugar in it, which I don't love. Didn't realize it until like this morning. I bought it a while ago. I've had it before, but I was like putting it in the tea bag and I was like, does this have sugar in it? And it does, which like it's fine, but sometimes I like to control the sweetness of my tea myself. So there's that. It's delicious though, and I love the mug. I've been big into Hartford lately. Like, I don't know, some of my, not so much anymore, but for a while some of my friends were very like, oh, I can't imagine ever living in Connecticut. There's nothing to do here. And I don't know, that bugs me because there's stuff to do here. Like, yeah, it's not like as big of a city as Boston or New York or whatever, but I'm perfectly happy living here. Like, I can walk to work, I can walk to my church, I can walk to restaurants. Last night, I remember I went out for dinner. I can go see a basketball game at the Excel Center, which I did. Number 90, tied their own record, go Huskies. UConn women's basketball, nerd. And so I really, really like it. It's just a lot of fun for me. So go Hartford. I say that a lot on this podcast, but yeah. Knitting related big things coming up. In case you haven't heard, and I don't know how because I've literally had this conversation with 3 totally different people / groups. Stitches is coming back to Hartford. They're calling it like Stitches United, and it's going to be like other crafts, so crochet, knitting, embroidery, just a bunch of other crafts. Guys, I can walk to a yarn show. I'm so excited. It's coming in April and I can't wait. I was on the Knitting Universe website looking up details, and I saw that they have a knitting retreat in Vermont in June, which I am considering. Probably will not do that this year. The classes seem cool, but nothing like I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to take that class. It's a little bit expensive. I think it's worth it for what you get for the price, but just, we'll see. I might go, I might not. To be determined. My roommate and I are going on a cruise in November, so there's that coming up. I'm also going to London with my family in March, so if you're a viewer in the UK, let me know what yarn stores in London I should go to. I think Looped, I want to say, is the famous one people talk about, so I'll definitely try to convince my family to let me spend some time there. Next weekend, I'm going to New York City for a friend's birthday. I actually realized that Vogue Knitting Live was this weekend. I almost woke up today and drove down to New Haven and got on the train to go to New York City to check it out. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to be there next week. And, like, it's not that much of a hassle to get to New Haven, but it's kind of a hassle. I find it easier to get to Boston for sure. But anyway, so there's that. Other than that, life is going really well. Things are just chugging along here in Hartford. Like I said, I've done some stuff this week in Hartford. I think today I'm going to go watch one of the football games at this really cool place called City Steam, which is a restaurant and brewery. They have really, really good beer that they make themselves in the restaurant. So if you're in Hartford, check it out. I checked out a new restaurant in Hartford. It just opened like Tuesday, and maybe even Wednesday, and my coworker and I went yesterday. So lots of cool things going on here in the city. I think that's it for me. This has been a pretty short one, but like I said, just 2 works in progress to talk about. So maybe I'll actually manage to write show notes for this one. Seems like it should be pretty easy, but oftentimes I forget. So anyway, I think that's it for me. I hope that wherever you are, you're having a wonderful day and that you enjoy what you're knitting. See you next time.